Welcome to the Irish Pagan School podcast. Your hosts are authors and co-founders of the Irish Pagan School here in County Waterford, Ireland, Laura O'Brien and Jon O'Sullivan. Fáilte.
When is it okay to take stones from sacred sites or graves? Well, Dag the Agus Fáilte. Hi, hello, and welcome, Jon O'Sullivan from the Irish Pagan School. And this is a question I wasn't really sure I would need to answer, but I suppose some perspective is needed. And I have been asked specifically by people in the internet to provide some perspective. So thank you very much for thinking of us. Thank you very much for tagging me in the comments, etc. But I thought it was best to really come at this from here, this platform, and to kind of take the time to talk about it. So, for those of you who don't know, there has been a kerfuffle around the world at the moment about certain individuals taking items, taking stones or marks from graves. I don't know if it's ancient stuff or new stuff or whatever, but really it does speak to an underlying issue here, which is definitely worth taking about. So, neat answer, not hard to say. When is it appropriate to take stones from sacred sites or gravesides? Never. It is never appropriate to take stones from sacred sites or gravesites or anything like that at all, or even to bring stones to sacred sites or gravesites, regardless of what you may feel or think, or regardless of your experiences, or even regardless of what the tour guide might be saying to you. Um, Everyone that we take on tours around Ireland are told really are taught a lesson, are taught a standard motto which exists for most people who do go off into the wilds outside of their territories, or even those who live in inner city areas, and that is a concept of leave no trace. I learned about it in the Scouts, in the Cubs, coming up through like the Scouting Ireland, but it's not just Scouting Ireland or any kind of scouting organization. Anyone, any group, anybody who talks about traveling around in your native environment, in parks, anywhere at all, everywhere you'll see it, it's leave no trace. It's an underlying agreement, really, that engaging in the environment is available for you. Yes, absolutely. Connect with your locality, go out, get out of your cities, get out of your areas where you can, embrace nature as part of your process. Absolutely, but leave no trace. That is everything from leaving litter, but everything from also leaving marks of bonfires and such. And there's a number of reasons why, and I will kind of cover some of the technical sides before we go any further. First things first, most sacred sites upon the island of Ireland are archaeological relics. They are records of an old time. They have been assessed by archaeology. There's actually a fascinating resource drop here, archaeology.ie. There is a website there which lists off a whole, I think it's called the National Survey. Essentially, the archaeology.ie linked with the National Ordnance Survey in Ireland and pulled in the Ordnance Survey maps and then gave the longitude and latitude locations for as many records as they could of historical and archaeological significance on the island. You can actually load this historical environments viewer, is what it's called, and you can see the island of Ireland. You can zoom in on these little red and blue dots. It'll tell you where it is, what it is, everything from a stone in a field to a ruined church to mounds of a ring fort, which is barely visible if the grass has grown too high. All of this is crucially important because all of this has been invested in, and our people have invested in knowing what is around us so that we can respect it and we can honor it. Whether you're a pagan or not, whether you're an environment nut or a nature worshiper or not, there are kind of impacts that happen when we go through those places. And if we are not being conscious of the impact that we have, i.e., leaving no trace, then harm and damage can be done. That harm and damage is then passed down into the next generation, into the next cycle, and people will not be able to experience these places the way we have experienced these places. Maybe you're getting an idea of where the long-term problem with this is. But Jon, like if I just have a little fire, or I light my fire to honor my rituals, etc., and like that, the grass will grow back. Like, surely, what's the problem with having a fire? Well, scientifically speaking, there is a big fucking problem with having a fire because we now have a ground penetrating radar which allows us to kind of map out a particular area and to check for energy kind of readings or the shifts in energy based on various types of deposits. This means that we can track ancient and ancestral fireplaces by going through this process. Unless, of course, someone has lit a fire there in the last few months, years, decade, suddenly any opportunity to see if there were actually ancient bonfires on the hill of Tlachta is shot to shit because someone decided that they wanted to have their own little dance around fire and put it directly on the ground. There are rules about this. There's actually guidelines from environmental impact and archaeological impact surveys. You can have a fire, but you need to have it raised up off the ground in some form of barbecue device, at least a couple of feet off the ground, so that the heat damage won't impact the archaeological information below. But that's a small example of it. That's a very small example of fire having an impact. We need to look at other examples here where people think, well, I'm going to bring this crystal that means a lot to me and I'm going to travel and kind of bring it on pilgrimage. Yes, of course, absolutely. But then they decide to leave it in the Cave of the Cats, down the bottom in the darkness. Or they decide they're going to go climb up to Maeve's Cairn and leave it there. But it's just a stone. It's just a crystal. It's a gemstone. Yeah, but it's not native. It's not from our country. It's not from this environment. So again, who's to say that you have not spoiled the archaeology for that place for generations to come? 100 years from now, someone like, going through doing some conservation work or revisiting these sites comes across a piece of opal that's been wedged in down amongst the dirt and it's like, oh my God, maybe the ancient ancestors actually traveled around the globe and brought stuff back. Or maybe it was just someone leaving their offerings of gemstones. We've had to actually remove gemstones from the Cave of the Cats. We've had people kind of leaving markers down there, trying to insert themselves into history and completely overruling or overwriting the existing environment. People lighting candles down in the Cave of the Cats and then leaving their candle waste behind. Engage in your processes, absolutely. Come on pilgrimage to these sites, absolutely. Follow your spiritual path, absolutely. But leave no trace. The important part should be that you are engaging in your growth for you. The thing you take away with you is the memories and the experiences of your growth. Do you need to have that particular rock taken from Maeve's Cairn? No, I don't think you do. Oh yeah, but it's just one person. It's just one stone. How many people visited Ireland last year? Tourists coming from outside the country? 9 million. It's brilliant. It's amazing. We're delighted. It's fantastic that so many people around the world want to come and visit my small island here. But even if like 1% of those people decided, well, I'm going to take this stone home with me. How many people is that? That's still 900,000 stones that have gone from Ireland in that 1 year. 900,000 stones taken away. Oh, it's just my personal memento, just my practice. Or people going the opposite way. It's like, oh no, I'm going to bring this, native granite from where I grew up or whatever and bring that over. I'm going to place that in amongst the mound of Maeve's stones and I'm helping make Maeve's Cairn bigger. No, you're not. You're changing and shifting and altering all of the information around it and energetically altering it too if you follow a pagan pathway. Because it's not just like the environmental impact of people going out for a few beers and not thinking about it and leaving their trash behind. Pagan pilgrimage does actually have an impact if they're not consciously managing about it. The people who go down into the Cave of the Cats and leave their crystals behind, they're not people, they are people coming on pilgrimage. They are people coming seeking a spiritual connection, speaking a moment of growth. That's not someone who's like, oh well, I'm just going to go for a trip around Ireland and like I'll just these gemstones fell out of my pocket by mistake. But my gods, guides, and guardians told me. But I checked with the tour guide. I asked for permission and I was told it was okay. Okay, if you're asking me for permission, it's not fucking okay. All of this comes down to one single word, which hopefully is all understand at this particular point. Entitlement. Entitlement. People feel entitled to take something from another place and claim it as theirs. People feel entitled to put things from other places down and claim that they have done service or done great things. The mentality that goes behind that is one of disrespect, appropriation, cultural supremacy. There's a whole number of ways to put it and to talk about it, but it's really down to entitlement. Who the feck are any of these people to think that they can take from a sacred site or a grave site or anything else at all? Or who the feck do you think you are coming and leaving stuff that's not part of that environment as it is? Now, there are cultural expressions, there are traditions that exist in certain areas, but I've literally seen trees torn in half by the burden of people's ill-conceived ideas around spirituality and practices. Hawthorn trees on the edge of the top of Tara. Actually, I've got a couple of things to talk about. It is a rant. I'm aware of my energy. I don't feel there's a problem with this level of energy when I'm talking and educating about what is actually harm and damage done upon our island. So when we look at it, I've literally seen trees torn in half because people have turned up and tied fucking non-disposable stuff to the tree. It then rains. The rainwater gets on those things, gets soaked. What happens to a piece of fabric when it's covered in rain? It gets heavier. Okay, but it's only one person's blessing. It's only one person's thing. No, it's one person who's left their piece on the tree, which has been caused another person to leave something on the tree, which caused another person to leave something on the tree, until the rain comes in. All of that gets a shit ton fucking heavier and tears the tree in half. I was there on the Hill of Tara that day and I came up to it, and there were people, conservationists who look after that area in Tara, removing stuff again from these trees. And I talked to the guy and I was like, I can't fucking believe this. And he's like, yeah, would you believe it even worse? Just a few months back, we took 2 tons of rubbish off this tree. They had already removed a whole lot of trash that had been put on the tree a few months beforehand. And because something was seen dangling, because someone left coins there, I've seen people shove coins into a living tree, thinking it's a blessing, thinking it's a gift to the fairies. Fucking metal. You are poisoning the tree. All because they want to have their special little moment. I've seen people take, well, actually, sorry, I've seen the aftermath. I wasn't there at the time because I would have done something about it, or I like to believe I would have done something about it. I've seen the aftermath of people taking lump hammers to the Leah Fall on the top of Tara and then covering it in black paint. Now, either they're breaking a piece off of it to take it home, or they're in some way violating or anti-pagan in some way. We've seen the statue of Mononymous Lear proudly displayed upon our coastline, taken down and stolen, eventually to be found and to be restored. So there is a whole extra level of intentional vandalism, intentional harm that's being done. I'm not equating that. That's an entirely other conversation. But it is this unthought of, unintentional level of entitlement. It's like, oh, well, no, I get to leave my little blessing, or I get to do this, or, the gods told me I can take from this island and take it away. 9 million people, 900,000 stones gone if even 1% decided to take something away because they felt connected to it.
Hello, this is Laura O'Ryan, and I want to make sure that you get access to our free gift for you, which is the Roots and Reverence Ancestral Connection Toolkit. So this is a 5-day guided exploration, which will be delivered to you free over email series, and it's as enlightening as it is grounding. It's designed for anyone who feels a kinship with Irish paganism, whether you carry Ireland in your blood, your heart, or the soul memories of lifetime past. There is no cost, only the promise of authentic connection to Ireland, as ever from us. So go to irishpagan.school/roots, that's ROOTS, to get your ancestral connection toolkit. And again, it's all free, delivered free over 5 days. There's resources, there's exercises, there's connection, there's all sorts of cool stuff. So I hope you enjoy that. It is our free gift to you for being a valued podcast member. So back to the episode.
They're supposed to be pagans. One of the cornerstones of paganism is a reverence for nature, is a connection with the environment around us. And that's not just hugging a tree. That's not just standing out under a full moon or doing performances or engaging with storms and rains. That is taking the literal trash off the environment around you. That is climbing into the ditch and taking away the bags of rubbish or the cans that people have leaving behind. I have literally pulled 2 black bags off the Hill of Tara, including a full fucking tent with broken poles that someone decided to leave there in the space of an hour. It wasn't a big cleanup mission. I was literally there myself to take a walk around for my own growth and for my own engagement with the landscape. And I came away with 2 black sacks full of absolute trash and garbage left by other people and a fucking tent. Entitlement. Short-term thinking. Thinking that we are the culmination of our own desire and our own story, that we are the main character, that we're the hero in the narrative. And forgoing the fact that we are part of a bigger thing. We are a small fraction. We are 80 years, 80 to 90 years, if you're lucky, of existence in millennia long habitation on our planet of our species. You get 90 years if you're lucky. So who the fuck are you to take something away in your 90-year slot and deny that to every other 90 years that comes after you? Every other individual. Even if they're born the day that you do it, that's no longer there for their 90 years. Even if someone comes up the next day after you do it, they don't get to experience things the way it was. Because someone has taken the feeling upon themselves, the entitled decision to shift and change things just because they felt like it. Or they got special permission from a tour guide. Or their gods told them to. Take a step back. Take a step back from those moments. Ask yourself, is it my gods or is it my own ego and my own want? And if it is my gods, well, why the fuck are my gods telling me to take away something from a location and deny it to everyone else for generations to come? Maybe it's less about you getting a special little pet rock and more about them testing you to see if you have the cop on of a broader, greater perspective outside of yourself. But who am I to say? I'm angry about it, personally. As a tour guide on my island, I stand against it every single fucking time. And people ask me, but what can I do? What can I do? I was okay, well, leave no trace. Don't leave something that won't biodegrade. Buy flowers if you want to leave offerings. They will biodegrade. They will add something to the environment, but not flowers that are non-native. How do I get native flowers? I don't know. Pick them somewhere else in the field over. But I want to take something away. I want to have memory. Take a photograph. Write down a journal. Write a poem. Sit in the space. Enjoy the space, what it is. Align your energy with the location and take the experience away with you. Take the perspective away with you. Take the moment of growth away with you. All of that is much more fucking valuable than a piece of stone. Because all of that will serve you for the rest of your life, as opposed to a piece of stone that may go on an altar for a while. Yeah. May be remembered for a while. But eventually, when you pass on from your 90 years, will be thrown out because it's a piece of stone. Or you might tell your kids about it and they might think it's cool and they'll put it in a drawer. If you're really, really lucky, they might bury you with it. Or you could have left it where it was, understanding that it's not about the stuff, it's about the experience. It's not about the physical, it's about the metaphysical. It's about outside of ourselves. It's about the growth that we go beyond our mortal form and limitations. Yeah, I'm upset about it. I'm hurt about it. And I don't stand for it. This also includes offerings of alcohol. I've seen people pour spirits all over native monuments here in Ireland. Spirits. Oh no, it's a bottle of whiskey, like, I'm offering it to the gods. Okay, well pour it on the ground near it. Or don't pour it at all. Drink it and offer the energy of the experience. Because what you do goes into the ground. I'm gonna take this whiskey and I'm gonna pour it all over this rock. You know that's gonna damage the rock. It's an acidic alcohol. If it's a limestone, sandstone elements to the rock, they will react chemically with it. You are scarring it. Oh, but it's imperceptible. Oh, but okay, but what if, 1% of the people who came on tour did the same thing? 900,000 people spilling 900,000 bottles of alcohol over this one rock. Do you think it's going to be there long? You can actually look up the impact that humans have on physical stone, on rocks. It's fascinating. There is I think it's a castle down in Cork, or maybe it's in the University College grounds. I'm not quite sure. But there's a bust of a lady, one of the Lord's ladies who was in the place, and there was a tradition of kind of touching her cheek for luck, touching her cheek for blessings. That was said. So you'd touch the stone and you'd have your blessing on it, or you'd this idea of it. Of all the rocks in there, when you walk into that, her cheek is polished fucking smooth. You'd swear it was obsidian glass. It's that level of polished smooth. And that's from thousands and thousands of hands over hundreds of years rubbing this one spot on a fucking stone. The oils, the abrasions, everything. Don't negate the impact that we, our individual selves, have, because we are part of a collective, and what we do and what we see and what we put forward carries on beyond us, which can be great. We can preserve these things. We can preserve the knowledge. We can preserve the experience so that generations down, it will still be there to inform our cultural practices, to inform our spiritual practices. Or we can take it away one stone at a time until there's nothing fucking left but a story, a faded memory of, oh, well, there used to be a mound of stones on top of that mountain for Queen fucking Maeve. Leave no trace. The value is in the experience, the value is in the growth, the value is in how you journey and what you gain, the knowledge, the memories, the shifts in your energy you do. It's not the little pocket rock you take home with you or the things you leave behind. Because someone like me has to come up and clean up after you. I always will. I don't begrudge it. I get frustrated. As I said, a literal fucking tent off the hill of Tara. And it wasn't near the entrance. I had to drag that fucking thing from the back bottom end of it. If you ever go on a tour with me on Tara, I'll point out. If you say, where was the tent, John? I'll know that you've seen this video and I'll point you out that fucking place where I pulled that tent out from under the brush. It wasn't sitting in a thing. Someone had smashed up the tent and just fucked it in under a hedge. And I wrecked myself climbing in to get it. But I'm glad I fucking did. So thank you. Again, thank you very, very much to all of the people who tagged us in social media, tagged this Irish Pagan School in TikTok and YouTubes and etc. Appreciate it. We were aware of it, and it was something I had to take a bit of time to build up to because I was angry. But I had to make sure that my anger was righteous, that I wasn't just going to have a go at one particular person over there. My problem is not with a one particular person. My problem is with the mentality of entitlement, or the holier than thou attitude that some pagans have to, well, I revere and honor nature, so I can do this because I know better. If you're still leaving a trace, you might know better, but you're not doing better. So again, Gaurav Mila Magat, thank you very much for being with us here at the Irish Pagan School. If you'd like to know more about what we teach at the school, go to irishpagan.school/free. There's a year's worth of free resources. pick up books, pick up learnings, take even a free fucking class. There's a whole full classes there that are free for you to take. And then when you're ready to dive deeper and to know more, we have loads of different ways that you can do so. Everything from like pagan practice, spiritual practice, magic practice, into history, archaeology, cultural history, women's studies. Like there's a whole lot of stuff at our school, and we're delighted and proud of everyone who teaches at it. And that's why we do it, because we want it to be better. We want to leave something that exists beyond ourselves and that shifts and changes the attitudes and the perspectives so that everyone will have something beyond the moment that is my God's willing 90 years or more of existence. So until next time, look after yourself. Take care. Agus Slán. Goodbye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a positive review in your podcast listener. Then head over to irishpaganschool.com and enroll in one of our free or paid courses. Slán go fóill, and we will see you next time.